And I've been muted. Hope I've not been muted on one side. That's, of course... Oh, love it. Love it. Already off to a great start. Hi, let me try that again. Let me round it again. Just rewind again. And... Hi, everybody! I'm the jackass who left his mic on mute. Welcome to the Graveyard Gush. A show where we're going to talk about horror movies, regardless if they are fantastic blockbusters or horrible pieces of trash. Either way, we're here to love it all the same. I am joined today by the lovely Britt of Britt and Tiff. Say hi there, Brittany.
Hi, everybody. I'm here because nothing can get me when I'm in my comfy.
I see it. It's perfect. Oh, no. Please pardon our cameras. Things have been kind of weird on the Wisconsin side of things. I know you were having problems with Discord earlier, and I, for some reason, seem to be kind of delayed every once in a while on the stream, so just bear with it at home. Want to say real quick, though, to Baka, I see you already in the chat. How you doing, bud? But, Brittany, how do we begin to, really this movie? Should I just read off the plot on IMDb, or do you want to take a stab at, summarizing the whole thing?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know I put you on the spot, so you can say no.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to think because I'm like, oh my gosh, how would I describe this movie? I think it's one of those movies that, because part of me, figuring out how to describe it is, do you give them the plot of Alien? Because I don't think you need to see Alien to enjoy this.
But
really, I think it helps. Yeah. So I think you can just go ahead and give them your IMDb summary.
Yeah, let's see.
I'll probably go off and gush too much before I'm supposed to.
Fair enough. Directed by Fede, Álvarez, and written by Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Chassette, and Fede Álvarez. Hey, that's the director. Yep, write this thing. Cool. Alien Romulus is about this group, let's read out of IMDb. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. As a fan, I would say this movie is set between Alien and Aliens, and I think it is definitely the movie that was set out to make face huggers as terrifying as possible. And Baka is asking, how are you doing so far here on YouTube? I'm doing fine. I'm great. Petting my dog, who I think is just on camera. How about you, Britt?
And I wolfed down some dinner pretty quick to be here. Super excited to talk about this movie because I also wore this sweater when we saw the movie.
You did.
Because, like I said, nothing can hurt me in here. And those face huggers were trying. They were trying.
Oh my god. And I think what made it worse, and you called me out on this too, was that hi Taylor, welcome to the show. Is that I have a surround sound system here in my living room. And this little I read farther enough into this. I went to the 5-minute mark before I go dropping F-bombs. But when those little fudgers were running around, scampering around, we could hear them behind our head. It was the worst.
They are so spider-like, and I'll tell, they've always creeped me out so bad. So xenomorphs are if you want to ask a person what's the thing that scares you the most, monsters that you really have no chance against freak me out, and the xenomorph is one of them. It's always been one of my Alien's one of my favorite movies, and to see face huggers get their chance in the spotlight was really something else, because when I watched Adam Savage's tested video when they looked at the face hugger props from Alien and Aliens, I didn't know that they had fingernails, and that ruined me for a whole week, knowing that all the little they all had fingernails. They had fingernails. It still screws me up. It still messes me up. And so these things being given their appropriate time to shine with how screwed up it is good. And it's a good plan tactically too, because you have a franchise that's spanning almost 50 years now. Is my math right? I think it is.
Just
It is what
about. I
it
mean,
is.
this
Almost
movie.
40-ish, 5 something. Makes sense to kind of refocus because everyone's going to know everything about the xenomorphs, right? At least a fan coming in to see the movie will.
Yeah. Well,
But
the original movie itself came out in 1979. So,
I'm a little shy of 50.
yeah. At least like close to 45 years, wouldn't you say?
45. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, would it be 45? It would be 45, yeah. Which is
Yeah.
wild, this to think. That,
Right?
yeah, 'cause this came out, this was like 1979. So that's how many presidencies? Like, it came out right before the Reagan era, just about. Don't quote me on that. I'm not good at my political history.
I'm not good at measuring in presidencies.
Yeah,
That's not my
mine
preferred
either.
unit of measurement.
Yeah.
Um,
But,
well, let me ask you overall,
yes.
like,
Yes.
you have an overall thought on this movie before we keep diving into specifics, because I know you and I could just go on and on about that.
True, true. That's a good best place to start is definitely the overall. And overall, I it's been 5 minutes. Let me check. 7 minutes, even better. I fucking loved it. It was good. It was great in my
Yeah, me too.
opinion. Yeah, like I remember before you left after we watched it here, I was kind of conflicted in a way because I came in expecting one thing, I got another, and it was kind of weird to watch a film where the xenomorph part of the alien life cycle was used the least out of all the concoctions throughout the whole flick. But in hindsight, I love it for the amount of screen time it gave to the face huggers, which probably have a better name for it. Because I think you said it yourself that they're underutilized. They maybe showed up like aliens for one scene, and it's a great scene. The whole bit with Newt and Ripley stuck in the study lab or the lab with a few ones that are released, scary as hell. They gave me nightmares when I first saw it. So to have 2/3 of a movie watching those little jerks flying at the characters' faces, nightmare fuel. But outside of that, the cinematography was great. I love the sound design. The fact that it starts out in like the absolute silence of space kind of brings back the original tagline from the first movie. In space, no one can hear you scream. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, and I just also really enjoyed what it did for the lore. But I can get more into that later. What about you?
Oh, yeah. I was also a big fan of this movie. I saw the original Alien franchise when I was a kid. Really loved the first one. Enjoyed the second one. Could do without 3 or 4, but I did it anyway.
Right?
Prometheus, I did not like. I did not like Covenant either, but I'm like, okay, I can see they're doing something different. I always try and be like kind, but this one, I don't even want to say it was a return to form because it wasn't a rehash of Alien, but it was kind of, it returned to that same sense of like terror that I experienced like watching the first one, knowing that the alien is there somewhere but you just don't know where. And now you have this movie where the general populace now knows what the alien is. So that's kind of freeing in a way, kind of similar with what they did at Child's Play, like 1 versus 2. So in the first one, like they really hide it and really leave that for the last minute. But now once you get into the sequels, everyone knows Chucky's alive.
Yeah.
So now you can do different things with that. So they really used the setting beautifully, and the way scenes were blocked and shot was gorgeous. And
Oh, yeah.
there were so many times you and I were sitting there going,
Yeah.
like we
Tense.
were holding our breath too. Like the opportunity to create new scares, like you were referring to the lore, was taken and it was done well. And this is one I really do enjoy. So like when I tell people like, yeah, let's watch the Alien movies, we'll watch Alien, Aliens, and Romulus.
I'm a bit of the oddball here because maybe not really the oddball. Like I'm probably the opposite end because I enjoyed Prometheus and Covenant for what it did. I love my good sci-fi. I love the world building on the past. Is it done well? I mean, I would say I just say yes personally. I mean, it does have its little hiccups here and there. I think a big one being is that we're missing the last chapter of that bit. Like I know Ripley Scott had plans to make it a trilogy. So we got the beginning, the middle, and no end. I want my end because if you think about it, looking back at other trilogies that were kind of iffy on delivery, like the Star Wars prequels. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Revenge of the Sith kind of helped validate those films because Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion, is a fantastic film. In the same case, I want my revenge of the synth because of David, his arc. Yeah. Anyway, so I with this one though, with Romulus, I loved that it. I don't want to say it still acknowledged those previous films because I think it'd be kind of a disservice to go and just ignore them altogether. Because I think any film, any story taken as a whole franchise overall can be almost like diluted to be received a bit better over time. Like look at Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. I think the same could have happened with this and Covenant and Prometheus. I think Romulus is like the first step in seeing that happen. But two, I love that Romulus fixed a plot hole that I realized needed to be fixed after all this time. And that is... Yeah, I mentioned while watching it. It answered why Wayland Yutani wanted to get a xenomorph so goddamn badly. For the right?
Yep.
For most of the franchise, it's like, why would anyone want to go and study these things? Bad shit happens every single time. It destroys all in its path. And with a single line, or like, no, with, spoiler alert, with the appearance of Rook, which I guess is based on Ian Holmes' character of not Bishop. Is it Ace in the original film?
Oh no, it's in the original film. I can't remember the actor's name, but it was Ash.
Ash, yeah, but his name, it's Ian Holmes is the actor. Ash, yeah.
Right, and then it was Bishop was the synthetic in the next movie, and
Yeah.
I called out that there was kind of an interesting parallel to have Bishop and Rook, even though they're not the same character.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying.
I was saying that was. I love the fact that it was dropping. They're studying it because humanity is ill fit for space, and we want to go and take the perfect organisms, like tricks in genome, because humanity deserves to be the perfect organism. Just perfect explanation. It's simple, it's sweet, and that's all you need to know for I think most of the franchise going forward. Love it.
Truthfully, it makes sense. Like, I just always accepted that like mankind was always going to try and control anything that they could see as a possible profit motive. So usually it's like a war machine or something like that. But I do like that that we do have a very explicit reasoning for it, and it's something that's outlined in the beginning of the film too, when we're introduced to the colony, and just how terrible it is working down there. But I want to make something clear too. I'm not upset for people liking Prometheus and Covenant, and they're not even necessarily bad movies. They are just not what I wanted. And there's a world where that's like, you can make a movie that's not exactly what a fan of the original Alien movie would like. And it's not a bad movie. It just wasn't for me. So, by all means, go ahead and like it. I don't want to dismiss the lore or anything, because I feel like once you do that, too often we get into like a Halloween situation where we have like 6 different timelines. And, it does make for like a fun movie night when you want to go, no, I don't want that timeline. I want this. But that timeline has 6 movies, and this one only has 3. We only have so much time. So, you don't want to get into like too much lore retconning, and I'm okay with what they did. I think it makes sense. I think it helps everything come back full circle, and it makes me a little more personally forgiving of Prometheus. So.
No, I think most...
That's all right by me.
I think most fans, if not all the fans, and certainly most, if not all of the people who worked on the film, everyone agrees that 3 is by far the worst one and should just be cut out from existence. Actually, it's kind of funny you brought that up about the other films, because like we have a Taylor in the chat saying like you've only seen 1, 2, and tried to watch 3 and couldn't get through it. And honestly, I think that's the best way to set up 3.
That's fair. Yeah. I had my husband watch the movies with me.
Oh.
We got through Alien. We watched Aliens, and then I said, "You don't have to watch the rest. You're not missing anything." Like if you wanted to, we could go down that road, but he did not have any interest. So
You need to hear this hot take from chat. Release the Bracken writes, Prometheus plot hinged too much on really smart people doing really dumb things. And that is a perfect way to look at
the
that.
Prometheus school of running away from things.
Yeah, honestly.
In a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always say that like every horror movie is basically an action feature where the heroes do everything wrong. But that was like to the point of just logic out the window. I think David, the David Fassenberg's character, is really is it Adam? Either way, is
I think it is David. I think the character's name is David. Yeah.
Yeah. Was his whole thing was by far the most intelligent and best character of the whole goddamn film. So I mostly watch it for him because he's fucking creepy.
True. He's a strong point. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about Prometheus. We're here to talk about
Yeah.
Romulus.
Yes. Okay. So I want to jump into something interesting here.
Yes.
There's something to dig down into, because Romulus, and it's explicitly mentioned in the movie. It's one half of like two ships that are like kind of paired together, Remus and Romulus. And those are like the wolf twins from Greek mythology. And then you had the bishop and rook and references. And I just felt like there was something in there about things mirroring each other or some sort of two sides of the same coin kind of reference. But I didn't feel like it was overt or intentional symbolism. I just felt like it might have been a fun thing for people to chew on if they wanted to dig into.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I read a bit about that. Romulus,
really?
Yeah, the reason why Romulus was first brought down is that was like the initial like code name for the script that Álvarez was working on that eventually became this film. And because of the development and the work getting out that Romulus, is an alien script, people started calling it Alien Romulus. And over time, it got to the word of mouth point that's like, you know what? It'd be a disservice to not name it Alien Romulus because everyone expects it to be called this at this point. And so he just worked it into the film. And I think that's kind of, much... I like that because it does, in the film, end up being much more impactful symbolically wise because you say there is a lot of mirroring of the other films in this one. Because to some extent it is a bit of a requel in terms of style. And I have to show this on camera for those who can't see this. Britt, I really can't do it because you're in a different view. But right now, my dog is like sitting at my side, full on lounge, trying to take my attention away from all you lovely viewers. Tifa, I'm trying to work here. But yeah, I thought it was a fun production note that I found. But to let you get back to your thing about your point, your very important observation about the mirroring, what were some of the things that you saw that you really kind of enjoyed that they mirrored per se? Like, I know you mentioned Rook was one of them.
I think the more I think about it, the more it comes down to just interesting ways to reference other parts of the franchise without directly referencing them. So the more overt thing to do, if you wanted to be blatantly like more fan servicey, is to take the actor who played Bishop. I can't remember his name right now. I know it though. And put his face on the synthetic and name him Rook. Like that would have been more overt, or named him Knight or something like that. It would have been more overt, I think. But just kind of a.
You're thinking of Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, yes, that's him. Yeah, I think that would have been more overt. Probably would have felt more fan servicey then. But I think the ways that we see more of these references are in our main character too, who isn't exactly a carbon copy of Ripley, but she shows a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Tenacity and resourcefulness. So in a way, she's in a believable manner too. You can see her thinking everywhere that she goes and problem solving, which I really enjoy. She just doesn't come off like a badass who just instantly knows everything. But in that way, we have a similar, like, really good lead female character, but who's not a carbon copy of Ripley, which I
No.
really enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
And here's hoping
yeah,
she
so we
gets a second film compared to most other female leads outside of Ripley, in this
yeah,
franchise.
we
But
didn't quite make it.
no, no, they kind of got the Friday the 13th treatment where, okay, ladies, you survived one. That's all I get.
Everybody gets one,
Yeah.
except for Sigourney Weaver
Yeah.
and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, I think I read, looking up some notes about Ian's, appearance on there. Well, one, I know that the director mentioned that, first of all, to make things clear, he did go and get permission from his family to use his likeness and face. So
I assume so. Yeah.
yeah,
That's good to know.
and they were, kind of honored that they wanted to keep him a part of it and that he could still be a part of the story he helped kind of create. Second,
good.
I think the intention was also like why they wanted to bring him is that more so if you think about these androids, much like you would cars, like his was like the model at the time, the science officer at the time. Bishop wouldn't be around his versions until like what, 60, 70 years. Yeah. I think he says
another
himself.
30 something years
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, on the ship, I think in the aliens he mentions how the ones back then were kind of a bit more finicky and weird. But I think lastly, like narratively wise, I think the director wanted, and this is how I viewed it, to give the moment where you had Ace in the first film praising this creature as the ultimate life form, and how like fitting, almost chromatically, even though it wasn't the exact same bot, seeing it coming from the same face and voice, like cursing it now, like Frankenstein, talking vile about the monster that destroyed his life. It's just like a fitting kind of like way to acknowledge and celebrate the 45th anniversary.
Yeah, really good way to do so, I think.
And Andy, yes, Baka, yes, I agree. Andy was such a precious little
Andy.
cinnamon roll.
And that was such a good way for that actor to flex his muscles too.
Right?
You switch between like regular Andy mode and the science officer module mode, and always to see him thinking too and wondering like what decision he's gonna make with his directives. That was just a delight to watch too. I agree.
So good, so good. That is like a career building role, and to know that this film did make some bank and got reviewed well, it's like yes, give that guy more stuff to do. Give him a sequel. Bring him back with Rain. I should mention that Andy was played by David Johnson, and Rain, our hero, was played by Kylie Spaney. Spaney, yes.
Wonderful. Love those two. They did
Yes.
great. I didn't see a bad performance in the whole movie, honestly.
And there's a very particular role I want to talk about, but that's until much later when we discuss the ending, because I think that needs to be saved into the end.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But speaking of like the characters, I mentioned this to you later on. How did you feel about Isabella Merced? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. The gal who started the story pregnant and got probably tossed around the most. People probably more so know her as the actress behind the live-action Dora the Explorer movie. But yeah, I think she did a great job in this horror turn.
Oh, actors contain multitudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a great job. I mean, there is a feast for any film major when looking at the Alien series, because the analogy, like the similarities to like concepts of violation and impregnation and stuff like that. That's not subtext, that's text. So to have an actual pregnant woman in the movie, I think is something interesting to sit and gnaw on. But yeah, she got tossed around a lot.
Yeah. Tossed, speared, vomited, blooded, gooed.
So the amount of times I saw a xenomorph like actually pick someone up and move them was absolutely frightening.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
And to know at times they weren't like trying to eat them, they were just taking them elsewhere to get egged.
yeah. You know, it's one thing I had to be pointed out to me afterwards, that there was no eggs in the entire film. Like, all the facehuggers, I think, were just clones created en masse by Rook.
They were terrifying. Oh my freaking god.
And most of it was practical, too.
Yeah, they were. I'm just I'm like crunching my toes and rolling my feet right now just thinking about them. They're so freaky. And well, okay, while we're on the topic, I want to talk about The Room and how that was that was a great opportunity for them to create a new scare and build lore at the same time. That was great.
Which room? There's a lot of rooms in
this. They had to raise. Well, I thought we were okay. It was the one where they had to raise the room temperature to their body temperature.
Oh, the hallway scene, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen it, to kind of set the scene, they, our heroes trying to get to one side of the space station to the other, had to go through a very crowded hallway filled with facehuggers, and Andy the android brings up that they sense living things based on sounds, kind of like I guess you could say pheromones in the air, but also most importantly like body temperatures. And so they go and raise the heat to be in the same level as our heroes, and they have to walk through this entire thing without having to say a peep. And of course, like, was it 2/3 of the way through, someone starts blathering on the radio, like, help me, God! And it's just,
They're like, you can't break a sweat, you can't get goosebumps, because any of that's going to alter your body temperature, and they're going to notice it. So it's like, you said at some point it felt like a stealth horror game.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great opportunity to create like another opportunity like for fear and scares within the franchise, and it was terrible. It was grueling. We were just sitting there watching it going the whole time. Oy.
Baka asks, Bjorn was the aggro bonehead, right? Yes, they were, played by Spike Farron, with his very thick Cockney accent that he was kept.
Oh man.
God, I haven't heard something that's thick since Attack the Block.
Oh god. Oh yeah, you mentioned that too. And as soon as you heard him speak, you turned to me. Have you seen Attack the Block? Which
I will definitely have to show you guys in the new year. It's a fantastic horror comedy. Unlike this horror tragedy, or is it a tragedy? No, it's just
great horror.
A great horror, very great horror.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I just really like seeing a franchise with as many installments behind it, is to find new ways to make us scared and nervous. Like early on in the movie, establishing gravity purge when the systems are on the fritz.
Yes.
Gravity doesn't work, and so within intervals of time, it'll purge the system to keep it from blowing up, and so that means the gravity kicks in for like 5 seconds and everything crashes to the ground. And then you have the scene at the end where they turn the gravity off so that they can shoot all the aliens in the hopes that all of that acid blood goes back towards the others. And they have to get their way through. Well, okay, oh no, the gravity purge is going on, and we're still trying to make our way through this sea of acid blood. And it was just like,
Yeah, I never thought about that as a kind of like. I mean, it was so yes, clearly fake and CGI'd, but the idea of it
Oh
was so
yeah.
very cool because they really, ever considered, yeah, swimming through floating acid like that. That was new. It was interesting, and I hate to
Hmm.
admit it because I was born and raised in the '90s. Give you flashbacks to the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes into space and has to eat all the potato chips to clear out
God.
the cockpit.
That's
But
the same episode where the ant farm breaks.
yep, actually yep.
And the ant floats in front of the camera, and
Yeah.
that's where the newsman says, "I for one welcome our new overlords."
Yeah, that's the exact same one.
I was a- I, I'm also a child of the '90s with a
Woo!
ridiculous encyclopedic memory of The Simpsons too. I
As you
was like,
should.
wait a minute, this is my special interest.
Tell- Let's tell the audience we're millennials without saying we're millennials.
Oh yeah. Um,
I think
that's the thing this movie did well is it's had a setup and a payoff, and a lot of times it didn't do anything without like making you understand like where the stakes were. So with the gravity purge thing, and then also early on in the movie, we saw the effects of the acid on a human person. It's pretty
oh,
quick, and it's pretty devastating, and so that when
mhm.
she is in that moment, you know exactly what can happen and exactly what the stakes are, and that's a really under. I think that's a thing that some filmmakers fail to do these days is like show us what the stakes are and what can happen. And that's a thing this movie did really well.
Yeah, you want to talk about stakes? How about the fact that, you know, this whole movie has is like a ticking time clock from the very start of it, with this space
Mm.
station slowly descending into the rings around this planet they're on. Those sort of think like the ring of like Saturn, and this is essentially
Mhm.
being like grinded to bits. I love that because if the first one was basic, it's gonna be about like space truckers. The third one was about space marines. This one was like like reminded me of like space scavengers. Really, it was
Mhm.
still a different group to kind of look at, and with the whole different level of stakes, where they willingly jumped onto this legit sinking ship, and just to see them have to be constantly on the run, it led to I think a lot of more less time just to really get to know characters or stuff like that. But you can learn so much from I think a character's like what they do in a tense situation, which I enjoyed immensely. And just the
Oh
fact
yeah.
of seeing the thing get grinded to dust at the end was awesome. Any kind of space carnage you never seen before is good kind of carnage to me.
Absolutely. You said space scavengers, like literally climbing onto a sinking ship. Um and my brain went ghost ship.
Yeah, this could be described like that
Like
too.
it's like if you don't think very hard about it, ghost ship. But this is much better and not the same at all, but also
Yeah,
yeah.
one complaint I did see online, and I don't think
Mhm.
it was a big one that a lot of people had, but I think it was a valid one to bring up, in
Mhm.
that this film had as technically a reappearance of the original xenomorph from the first Alien, but it was
Mhm.
killed off screen. Like we see the corpse of the one that Ripley shot out the airlock, dangling like
Mhm.
bits and pieces above them. Like, do you think we were like robbed to see the the main bug come back again? Because I know myself when I watched like Jurassic World and saw that they brought back the original Rexy from the first Jurassic Park, I was like, oh, it's awesome, yay! It's almost like I don't know. I want to say like a denial of fan service, but it makes me wonder if like would the film have would have been made better if it was in there still.
Interesting question. Um, I'm gonna go off of your example that you cited with Rexy, um, because I also had that moment of oh cool, but I mean for me, and maybe it's because it was not like I watched Jurassic Park growing up too, like it was a thing in my childhood, but I wasn't like the fan of it. Um, and so I guess for me it wasn't like a big deal that it was the same one. Um, and so for this, I feel like I would almost be disappointed if we got to see it, because I think having it there and having that connection to the original movie is great. But there are so many other ways that this movie, I think, recalls the original one visually, that it could err too much in like living in that shadow instead of doing its own thing. So, I mean, that's kind of my own personal opinion on it, is I like how this movie took what we knew and gave us something new with those colors. I don't feel like I necessarily would have wanted to see it, because I'm like, okay, so we're still fighting the same big bad, but what we got was something slightly different, and I think I like that better. What do you think?
Me, I'm kind of on the same wavelength. I would add from me though, well, I personally as a fan would have loved to see more of the OG again, because how can you not? It's like more like, yeah, who would want a second helping of that? At the same time, I still respect the choice that they didn't have it on screen, because I know one thing I don't like as a storyteller is that when I go and have like tell this tale of this big old struggle between, you know, a villain and a hero, and to have the hero go through so much and to only find out that in the end they still didn't succeed in killing the thing would be kind of a disservice to the original character, in this case Ripley. Now, yes, with this movie's new like lore, it was still going to be taken down by a bunch of Marines, but at the same time, to look at it, the second she put the thing out of the airlock as a active forefront character, she had beaten it. She had won. And at this point, the only thing it was set for was to be a plot device or something else. We've seen it so many times where someone digs up a piece or an arm or some other weapon to kind of spin off how the next kind of bit of the story. It's kind of like a domino effect kind of thing. So kind of like, let's say, for instance, you know, like, Greek mythology, how, we got Medusa's head now. Medusa's not coming back around. She's now a plot device. And I kind of respect that choice, because it's still kind of added to, like, how the fuck does this connect to Alien before moving on to Aliens? Because in a way, Aliens is about like what happens to Ripley after the first film, but this is more so what happens to the alien after its film. Well, you still lost. You're still dead in the end. But your kind still lives on. Your legacy still lives on. Which to me, this was such a big thing about legacy. The characters inside of it don't really know it, but we as the fans do. And I think it's a good lead-in to another big, in a way, kind of on the flip side of the franchise, doing a little bit of mirroring. This is a big spoiler now. In that they took basically the ending of Alien Resurrection and did it again. We get a xenomorph alien hybrid at the end of this film. The Offspring, I think, is what the title of it is. And
I said to you, if I had a nickel for every time we threw the weird alien offspring out into space, I'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it happened twice.
yeah, which therein lies why I wanted to bring it up, because if you consider, well, again, narratively, that a big reason why they wouldn't want to go and rehash the first one is because it was done right. You can also see why they want to go and rehash the, I guess what's called like the orphan. No, it was the newborn. I think. I forget.
I think it might have been the newborn.
Yeah, I think the newborn in Resurrection. Where they want to go and redo that because it wasn't done well. So that makes sense why they're going to rehash. Okay, that sucked. You know, OG, you're good. You've earned your place in cinema history. You're just a sight. You know, acknowledgement. You're a trophy on the wall. You're good. You've earned your time to rest. You, though, you little fucker, get back into the band. Get working back out, because we didn't do you again, bud. And my God, they did it so well. And especially the guy who played the Offspring. That was a human man. That was all practical effects. Robert.
Wait, what was his name?
Robert Brozinski? Yeah. That was he was a basketball player. Be the big lanky guy.
Of course.
With I guess a lot of prosthetics.
A
little bit of probably tweaks to make the certain effects work, but still. The actors had to act against That scary monstrosity.
I still have a hard time remembering what his face looked like because I don't think I want to. It was it was legitimately horrifying and disconcerting looking at the thing's face. Like way more than the orphan or the newborn, whatever it was in Resurrection was. Because I know like the it was supposed to look like a hybrid or whatever, but the reasoning for the offspring in this movie looking the way it did made sense to me. It was also appropriately fucking terrifying and unnerving. And it was a great like new thing to bring on at the end of the movie because we genuinely did not know what it wanted or how it would react to things, and it was a new level of body horror too. Just to see that. Oh,
I can confirm it is indeed called The Offspring, and the newborn is the one from Resurrection. And the actor stands at 7 feet 7 inches. And I think part of the reason why it's, I think, so unsettling, and I think it's another fun acknowledgement to it ultimately being kind of a slight connection to Prometheus and Covenant, is the face looks a little bit like the engineers in those films.
It does.
Yeah. And I think it's so fitting if you consider how in Prometheus they established that the engineers essentially created humanity, and then, you know, the xenomorphs kind of get, you know, are made through that. And gosh, it was like almost like a combination of all three of like this franchise's biggest species into one. And it was terrifying. It was horrifying. It was bony and wiggly, and I think Rook ultimately kind of got what he wanted, which was humanity as the perfect, you know, organism would be just like the alien xenomorphs, aggressive as all hell and ready to just to wreck up the place.
Wasn't that okay? So the stuff that they synthesized into that injection, didn't that look an awful lot like the black goo in the Prometheus and Covenant anyway? Isn't that like another great way to kind of tie that together? So that's basically what the engineers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did. They even played the Prometheus theme when they revealed it.
That's right, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you called that out.
Yeah, it's like they were able to re-synthesize, or at least create a version of it based on a xenomorph that was fused technically with human DNA. Because isn't that how a little bit of the biology works? Is that they have to go and impregnate other species to kind of like get themselves to acclimate to the environment. Kind of like how I don't consider it canon, but how like the Alien 3 xenomorph was kind of dog-like.
Yeah.
So clearly they don't have it perfected yet, but yeah, it's the body horror from it has so much potential. That's why I'm kind of okay with it being brought to now this, you know, finally it's found its way back into the future, the present times of the franchise. Because if you think about it, we only got half of the transformations here. We saw the alien baby offspring, but the mother, Kay, was also slowly transforming too into something. And she got killed off before it got too far. There is definitely some sequel potential there, if you ask me.
Deeply uncomfy.
Do
It
tell,
is a good
do tell.
movie. Well, you know, as a woman, like like okay, so you and I heard about a scene before we watched the movie, and I'm pretty sure I know what this is in relation to something to do with the offspring. Like, I try to avoid spoilers, but it's kind of hard. And seeing that there's a pregnant woman, I'm like, oh no. And then like he's talking about this fluid, and like, oh yes, it'll turn man into like the perfect organism. I'm like, oh no, don't wait, stop. You know what's gonna happen here?
Don't inject the
Nothing
thing.
good can happen. First of all, like in a movie where bearing another organism is a death sentence, having a pregnant woman in there and what happens to her is really interesting continuation of that. But also I want to talk about the chest burster. And the really cool new tool, the new mouse tool that we got introduced to.
I love how, like, the second we saw that, we knew exactly what it was for, and they did not wait long at all to bring it.
But they put it in the trailer.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a cool scene.
Yeah. For those who haven't seen it, the first girl to find the device, not say device, who gets chest bursted, Navarro, played by Eileen Wu, and she did a great job to kind of sell the pain there. Finds a little, what looks like to be like a metal detector, but it's actually an X-ray stick that allows you to kind of like, if you take bright lights, you put it through your fingers, you can see the bones. Well, this basically lit up your whole arm, and of course she got the thing, stuffed in her bag, and barely, what was it, like 10 to 15 minutes later, she was practically taking it out, put it behind her, and you could see the bones breaking. You could see the muscles and goo and organs moving around, and
It's such a good update to such a classic horror scene, though, because how do you take what is a known factor and make it new and terrifying? Is you give us a new perspective on it, like, because we know what's going to happen. But to see the inside of it happening and then to see the visceral nature of it, like, tearing its way out of her body, that's a great way to update that horror. And I really liked it. Like, I didn't like it, but I liked that I didn't like it.
Oh.
And you cared about everyone in this movie, too. Like,
well, everyone
even the assholes.
I mean, I didn't really care about Bjorn too much, but I did care about everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
there's a cat trying to get into my door.
Yeah. Are you sure it's not a face hugger? Trying to scritchy scratch against your... I think your mic blew out.
They have nails!
They do have nails.
It could be!
God.
Okay.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Oh, I dare. I mean, this is... We talk about horror films here. We love our spookiness.
Oh, yeah. I was writhing in my seat watching this, but I loved it. It was so good.
You know...
I'm so glad we found time to watch it.
Same. So I've been wanting to watch this with friends for a while, and I'm glad I did see it with someone. Because I don't know how to handle some of these things. Like, I have to find out, real quick, what was your favorite and least favorite, like, monster special effects sequence?
Ooh, okay.
Because I think I know mine, if you need a second.
Favorite and least favorite. I think... Incidentally, I think my least favorite would be one of the group xenomorph scenes, I think. Because I felt like I couldn't quite... It didn't have the same feeling as, like, when in Aliens, where they're like, they should be in the room with us, but we don't see them. And then they, like, stand up and look in the ceiling, and there's tons of them crawling towards them. It didn't have that same effect, and I can't quite narrow down why it is. I don't know if it was maybe I couldn't quite see the way they were moving, or because we didn't spend enough time with them directly as a threat, or because I'm just not sure. I don't feel like that worked as well for me. But favorite creature shots, I think, would be a tie with the face huggers in the cryo chamber, and how they would fly at a person's face, and the offspring making its way towards its mama. That one gave me, like, goosebumps, and I'm getting a shiver down my spine right now. The face huggers in the cryo chamber were so spider-like. And for those watching at home, I'm not necessarily scared of spiders. However, I decorated my house with spiders for the first time this Halloween. And I'm not a scaredy cat, but I had a hard time touching the fake spiders for outside. And so I had to call them spoders. to make them cuter. So, spider-like things moving does freak me out a little bit. So that probably contributed to it. What about you, Jim?
Me, I'm gonna start with the worst for me was up first, which was in the elevator scene. We have our hero trying to climb up the elevator shaft before the gravity, kicks in again. Rain, being basically saved by a xenomorph and then carefully placed gingerly onto a ladder. It felt like it felt kind of contrived and kind of like not the greatest way to have a classic, leering scene of the alien. Because there's one in every film. You kind of need it because it's a great shot of it getting closer and closer. Even when they get to the elevator, go flying past, and it's like still there afterwards. Just it kind of like took me a little bit out of it because if you think about the logic of it all, it's like, oh, I got you, bro. All right, hang on there a second. Okay, where were we? It felt the characterization wise a bit,
Yeah.
Even though the monster looked cool the entire time. So I guess it might be a bit of a cop out that like the effects still look good, but the setup was silly as hell. Inversely, my favorite special effects scene was the one where they tear off the face hugger from Navarro's, comatose state. And you see the side shot of like hearing like the crunching of the arms as they pull off the face hugger, hearing the gagging noise as they're pulling it off of her and seeing the proboscis, I think that's what it's called, coming out of her mouth. And there's like this as you see this long in shot of this almost 2 foot long thing coming out of her mouth. It is uncomfortable. It is squinchy and definitely plays up all of the like what we've come to expect about the clear imagery around rape in the franchise, which is why I love it, because it's like, yes, this is what makes these things scary and uncomfortable, and we need that in films like this. Not that I ever wanted to happen to a character, which I think is therein lies the successful use of it.
Yeah. I'm just getting gross thinking about it, because we did get a more we did directly see the stuff we knew what was happening with all the face huggers before. We haven't actually always seen them actually go into the body. It's just like, oh, we know they do it because that was incredibly visceral, and it really helps drive that parallel home, I think.
Yeah. And to my knowledge, like, we, in the other films, at least I know in Aliens, we've only seen the proboscis, the tube, come out of the face huggers about maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches. So we never technically haven't really seen it, like, fully extended. And holy fuck does that thing gotta reach. That's going straight into the stomach.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yes, very successful. Please do that again, even though I will hate to see it in action.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That was awful. Do it again. I hated it. More. Exactly. And one of the last things I did read, I felt important to bring up that I enjoyed, is that naturally, there's talks about the next film after this, because after such a successful production, how could you not? And the director Álvarez has Bracken, you weirdo. You don't need to find the scene and watch it, you weird little jerk. I do have to say, it reminds me real quick, Baca did write something fantastic earlier that needs to be put on the record. "'Tis a facehugger rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis this and nothing more." Ooh.
Love it. Xenomorph Edgar Allan Poe. We need more of this. Quote
the victim.
But one thing I loved about Álvarez that he's been on record saying when asked about sequels is that yes, he wants to do it. However, he wants to let it cook, so to speak. He feels like this kind of stuff shouldn't be pumped out film after film. Like he considering like the length between Alien and Aliens, which was like 7 years. It sounds like he kind of wants to give it. I'm not sure if that long of a time, but he wants to give it that much breathing room, and I respect that. Give them a chance to like talk ideas, work out concepts, and make a good fucking movie.
Absolutely. I'd rather wait 5 years for a really good sequel than get like some mediocre popcorn flick into.
Like, you want another Aliens 3.
Absolute respect. Yeah. So yeah, let the man cook. Let him work.
Yeah. And besides, until then, we're going to be getting Alien Earth on FX, the TV series, to kind of tide us over. So, plenty of time, yeah.
Cool.
There's been a few things coming out about that. Let's see. It will serve as a prequel and will be set 2 years before the events of the 1979 Alien. Maybe we'll finally get my part 3 I want for David's story.
That's probably where you're getting it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's
probably gonna smooth all that into the start of Alien.
Here's hoping. Because I like closure to my stories, but that's scheduled to come out next year on. Looks like these people are only on Hulu, so there you go.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So I think we're about at that point. We need to kind of wrap things up here. So naturally, that comes to one of my favorite questions of these talks. What was your favorite part of the film?
Oh, damn.
I didn't think about this too, so no worries about taking your time.
It's so hard to pick a favorite part. Damn, okay. I think my first thought is the part where Rain goes back for Andy. I liked a lot about this movie, but in terms of like character choices, that kind of took me by surprise, and not in a bad way. It was her choosing to go back to Andy, and I think that's a great reaffirmation of their chosen family ties, and family sacrifice and all that. That I really liked that character choice for her. It was just not exactly what I was expecting at that moment, because I kind of feel like I would have heard him say something like, go on without me, I'm like, he's making an overt, obvious sacrifice for her.
Yeah.
But instead she chose to go back for him, even though he is likely actively dying. So there's so much I loved about the movie. I've already gushed about the effects and how we took the old things and made it new, but I just really liked that character choice specifically.
That's refreshing to see the growth character-wise, and just finding the humanity that she, I think, taken for granted at the start of the film in Andy. And more that hit home more than ever when he was suddenly a company man very briefly again. You don't realize how much you value something until you lose it. I think is one of those kind of trademark sayings, what have you. But
yeah,
I'm stalling myself. For me, I am.
Do I need to vamp?
What's that?
You said, do I need to vamp?
To vamp?
Vamp. A vamp is if I have to kill time for you.
No, you're good. I keep being brought back to the sequence where we kind of see Romulus, the station, get grounded up into space dust, because there are so many beautiful shots in this film. Like, such love and credit I think needs to go to what the effects artist managed to pull off with just this reproduction of space, because it was almost oddly eerily beautiful. And some of like the establishing shots we got with all the use of colors and hues, and especially a lot of the red, so much red in this film. But to see this thing gracefully kind of like slowly descend down and watch it kind of like cut up more and more through the hole, and just it was almost like rewatching a scene from like James Cameron's Titanic, and we got the cut of like Rook and realized like everything was, you know, that his end was coming to him, just that face of just, I'm not sure, of acceptance, horror. How can you not look at those rocks coming your way and not be devastated by it? It was such a cool device. I've never seen that done before, and I can't wait to see it again. And it was good. I think that's, yeah, by far my favorite part.
Cool.
Yeah. Viewer Bracken writes in, my favorite part of the movie was when one of the facehuggers looked at the camera and said, "It's hugging time."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. That's just kind of going back to what I said about making old things new again. Didn't think Morbid Time was that old, but you know,
Yeah.
topical.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you heard it, or I'm saying this at least to you, Bracken, out there, but that one made Jade laugh in the other room. Yeah, goofball. All right, so I think it's all we have really to say about Romulus for now. Anything left you'd like to add before we cut it off?
No, I loved it. Highly recommend, and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. Oh, better. Yeah, can't wait for the next one. How would you rate it out of 10? We started doing that last episode, and I want to keep that up. That was fun.
Man, you know, I hesitate to do a 10 out of 10 on anything, but I usually try to focus on how much I enjoyed the overall package of what the movie gave me, like my experience of watching it, the design, the acting, the framing, like all of that. I really, for my own enjoyment, want to give this a 10 out of 10. I had a really good time.
If I consider like Alien as a 10 out of 10, and Aliens like is like a 9.8 out of 10, I'll consider Romulus as like a 9.5 out of 10 for no other reason than because it loses a few like 0.3 points for that weird awkward like elevator scene. Otherwise, love it, keep it in, because it's what the franchise needed at the right point in time. Yeah, this is what I'm gonna tell my kids what Alien 3 is.
I told my kids this was Alien 3.
Yeah. Now, as for what's next, Bach, I know we have not got a chance to watch Beauty of Water, and I do want to see that still. I do love the recommendation of that. But no, we were talking today about, with the next month being, you know, the holidays, looking at some more of the more Christmassy movies out there. And I think the next one we're looking at is probably going to be Krampus by Michael Dougherty from Trick or Treat fame. And I'm very curious to see what you think of it, Brittany, because I know you were a big fan the first time around, right?
Yeah. I watched it. I think it was. God, it was like 2016, 2017. I can't quite remember. And I watched it by myself, and it wasn't what I expected it to be, I think was the thing. But I'm a big fan of Trick or Treat, and, you know, that movie in general. And I think that now, with more perspective on it and with other people around me, I'll probably be a much bigger fan of Krampus. I think it's because it was such a fun Christmas setting, and then we have like a very dark story, and now I'm like, give me the dark story. I'm ready for it, but I just don't think I was ready for it at the time. So I'm really ready to re-experience it with people and talk about it.
Yeah, no, Krampus is a holiday classic here in the Flint Jade household, and people, long-time subscribers will just notice I've done a video on Krampus before with another series of mine, so I'm more than excited to talk about it as a movie with other people, not just what you gain from it. So I'm excited for that. Bracken's suggesting we should watch Santa's Sleigh. I don't think I've heard of that one. Is that the one with
Oh, you haven't
Goldberg?
heard of that one? I think
I
that's the one
have.
where the wrestlers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Santa's
Yeah.
the wrestler.
Yeah.
Yes, that looks ridiculous, and we do need to watch it sometime.
You know, we probably should, because I just checked now while you were talking about Krampus, because technically there are 3. Maybe, I think let me double check. I'm gonna double check. So, let's see. So, I only have two. Maybe we'll go a little bit into January. I don't know, 'cause I would love to kind of watch something I haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay.
Bill
That
Goldberg
could be
as
a
Santa
goofy
Claus.
one.
Yeah.
I had to tell you, I think Kimberly would really like that one if she hasn't seen it already.
Oh yeah. No, we were thinking of having it.
Kimberly loves nothing more than a ridiculous gory kill. So
Yeah. Well, we'll talk to the others, because I initially
Yeah.
was going to say the second one was going to be Black Christmas, but if Santa's Sleigh would be a more. Have you seen it yet? Because I've only seen the kill count by Dead Meat.
I've seen clips of it, and it looks heinous in the best way.
Okay, this might be
Like-
something we have to watch.
Yeah, let's we'll find a trailer and drop it in the group chat and see what everyone thinks.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm thinking too many now. Like, maybe we should just have like a movie marathon and just talk about a bunch of them at once.
Yeah, there you go.
Might be too much. We're about it later. We'll talk to the others. Either way,
Yeah.
thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. If you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing to Brittany's channel, Brittany Tip, which you can find the stuff for down in the description below. You also will find social stuff, everything else that's connected to me, whether it's the Discord that we have or Patreon. Hi! This costs money to do. Please help me do it. We'll see you in 2 weeks for another Graveyard Gush with the Krampus, which I can't wait. Next week, which will be Monday, I believe I talked to Jade about it, but then we'll be starting our drawing show together. So we were starting to nail down the artwork for that, and yeah, I think we're getting pretty damn close, so that should be fun. No stream this Thursday. It's Thanksgiving, and I want to go celebrate with my family. So yeah, we'll be starting up the gaming streams on the 5th of December. Britt, anything you want to add?
No, nothing I can think of. Just make sure to follow us, Brit and Tiff. We do quick card cuts for movies that are in the theaters. We are working on our next big double feature, and we might even have some special features coming your way soon. So, yeah.
Love to hear it. I cannot wait to see that. I subscribe to them, and I'm cool. So be a cool guy like me and subscribe to them as well. All right? All right.
All the cool kids are subscribed to Flintworth and Brit and Tiff.
Yeah. Take care, y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. And if you celebrate it, happy Christmas, Merry Hanukkah, Cheery Kwanzaa, or whatever. We'll see you next month.